All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I see a few new faces and a few very familiar ones. So glad that all of you could join me today. A little bit about myself. My name is Taylor Craig, and I am the Learning Platform Specialist here at Kineo. I work with all of our clients in training as well as any kind of our implementation. So that is where I work with Kineo and where I work with our clients. So a little bit about office hours. What we do is we have 15 minutes of a feature presentation. After that, we open the floor for 45 minutes of open floor questions and discussion. The open floor questions and discussion, that is only available to our clients. We do post the 15-minute video up to YouTube for anybody and everybody to watch. However, the 45 minutes is just for our clients. We want you guys to come in and bring your questions. What we found is that lots of our clients are learning from one another. So that is fantastic, and we like to see that happening. So come bring us your questions. No questions too big or small. If I don't know the answer, I bet I know somebody who does. One thing to note, guys, if you have an idea for a session, please go in and submit it. In the email that you all probably received as far as an invitation to this session, that email has a link to go in and submit suggestions for office hours. We are open to suggestions and want to make sure that we are actually covering the content that is relevant and important to you guys. We do also have some recordings out there already for you to review, but please go ahead and submit those. So today we're actually using one of those submissions. One of our clients has submitted a question about face-to-face. They just kind of wanted a refresher over it, kind of the basic, what is it, how do I add one to the course, how do users sign up, and then how do managers or really more so administrators or people who are facilitating the course, how do they go in and actually mark those people as present and in attendance? So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a quick little peek at a course here. We're going to look at it as an administrator, and we're going to look at it as a learner. A couple of other things I want to show you as well that are just kind of cool things, kind of little gotchas, and some new stuff about face-to-face. Guys, if you haven't already, there's also, I forgot I had some links here. I will post this PowerPoint to the video. So when you go and look at the video, if you look down in the comments, I will have this PowerPoint posted. There are lots of really helpful links on here, because if you haven't browsed the Totara documentation, you may have found that sometimes it's a little difficult to find things. So I've already gone in and I've located all the information that you need, and all of this should help you out. The top link is going to take you to some trainer-led course information, which is about face-to-face. And then next, you might be interested in the site administrator workflow, kind of what you do from the site administrative perspective. There are some really good documentation as far as creating a face-to-face activity, and then also kind of an introduction to the face-to-face activity, some benefits to using it, and then how those face-to-face activities work. Also, guys, if you're not already aware, 2.7, there was a lot of really big administrative changes to face-to-face. And I did an office hours session on that. I believe it was on September 24th. So you can go back and you can take a look at the recording that I did there, because there are a lot of new administrative configurations. And we had one full session over just the new administrative configurations. So you may go back after we've done this session, go back and review that session. I think you might find it helpful, because there may be some things that we kind of brush on today that you may not be seeing on your site, and it's probably because you haven't turned it on in the administrative settings. Okay, so things to note. Again, I will post this into the recording comments. All right, guys, so I am logged in as a learner on my site, and I want to show you one of the newer features of face-to-face, which is actually a face-to-face enrollment method. So it's going to allow my learner to actually enroll into the course based on choosing a face-to-face activity. So what you can do is you can make the calendar available to learners on the site. Within the settings, you can say that you want that face-to-face to show up at the site level. So you want it to show up on the site level calendar, not just in the course level calendar. And we'll take a look at those settings as well. But that's one thing to note there, guys. In order for it to show up here, you do have to have that calendar setting inside of that face-to-face toggled to say site calendar, okay? So if you've done that, what you can do is you can allow people to see all of the different face-to-face activities that you have inside of a course. So I've set here and I've said to list all courses. Now it's only listing these two face-to-faces. They're in the same exact course. And the reason these are the only two showing up is because these are the only two that are current. These are the only two that are happening right now. Okay, so that's why we're only seeing those. But if I wanted to, I could drop down. We're going to see a few courses listed. I have way more courses than that on this site. But the reason I'm only seeing these three is because those are the courses in which I am enrolled as a learner. Okay, so it's either going to show me the courses that I'm enrolled in, or it's going to show me all courses. And when it's showing me all courses, it's only showing me the face-to-face activities that have that site calendar toggled in the settings. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea there as far as how that is working. So Gary is logged in here and he sees new employee training seminar. Oh, lo and behold, there's one happening in just a few minutes. So what he can do is he can go in here and he can choose to sign up for that session. So if he clicks on sign up for this face-to-face, what that's going to do is it's going to bring him to the course screen. Now, in the past, in the olden days, as I like to say, the face-to-face enrollment method was not part of the system. So if you have a version of face-to-face that is 2.5 and earlier, you're not going to have this ability. So you need 2.7 in order for this to work. But what you'll see here is it's showing me the two different sessions that are available to me. But in the olden days, what you would have to do is you would have to have self-enrollment turned on a course if you wanted it to show up on the calendar, and then it would bring, the learner would click to sign up for it, and then it would say, okay, now you need to enroll yourself. So then they would have to click enroll me, and then it would take them into it. And I'll show you where you can toggle that and make that change as well. But now what we can do is we can just display, hey, here's all the face-to-face sessions that are in the course. Pick one you want to sign up for and it's going to enroll you. So Gary's going to go ahead and he's going to sign up for this one because it's about to happen. He's going to go in, he's going to sign up. And what that's going to do is that's going to go ahead and that is going to enroll him into the course. So now he sees up here at the top, your booking is complete. You should immediately receive a confirmation email. Now Gary's a fake person on my site here, but he would receive a notification. He would receive a notification email letting him know he signed up, and it's basically going to give him all of these details here. So he's going to get all of those. So that's one way to get people into your face-to-face. So when I hit go back, what that did is that brought me into the actual course. So now not only have they signed up for a face-to-face event, they've also enrolled themselves into a course. So if I wanted to, if I was going to have like some type of seminar of some sort, and I want people to sign up for it, and then I have a bunch of documents that I want them to download and bring to the seminar, I could put those in this course. So then they could actually access those and go into them. Okay, so that's one way to get your learners into a face-to-face activity. Another way to get them in there is to enroll them into the course manually as an administrator. When they're inside of the course, they would see the different face-to-face options here, and then they would be able to sign up for them. Now Gary's seeing that he is booked for this one, and we have it turned off where he can't cancel. We've said, you know what, you've signed up for it, you've made a commitment, you have to go to this one. Okay, but let's go into this more info and just double check. Yeah, so we've got it set up where he cannot remove himself from this booking, but we could fix it where he could say, oh, you know what, today doesn't work for my schedule. I signed up and I didn't realize it was exactly in a few minutes. The other one really does work a little bit better. We could adjust the settings where he could cancel himself and then book himself into the other. Okay, so he is able to see that there are 12 seats available currently, and he sees that he is already booked. Okay, so that's how you're going to get your learners into the system. Now let's talk a little bit about how you're actually going to manage this as an administrator. So if we go in to our admin view, if I could find it, there we go. We're going to go into the course. You actually have to locate the course. And I believe this one was called Face-to-Face something. There it is, Face-to-Face How-To course. Okay, and as a admin, or if I was an enrolled facilitator in this course, I could also access this and manage it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on it. And I have a couple of different options. So I'm seeing here that booking is still open, and it should be. It's 1:10, and it says that booking starts, the actual event starts at 1:15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trick it because we want to go ahead and we want to be able to manage some stuff. So we'll trick it here in a second, but I want to show you what's going to happen. So if I click on the attendees button, you'll see up here at the top, I have a couple of options, but you're going to notice that take attendance, waitlist, cancellations, those things, I can't utilize those. All I can do is I can take a look and I can see who the people are that have signed up for the event. But I can't do much with them at this point. I can message those users, and the reason I can't do much with them is because the event hasn't actually started. So I can't take attendance at this point because it hasn't taken, that makes sense, it hasn't started, right? But I can come in and I can message the users, and I see that I have booked users, and if I had people who had canceled, if we had that option available to them, that would be another group of people, that would be another recipient group. It'd be canceled users. I could select those people. I could send them all a message and say, hey, we noticed you canceled. Is there a reason? So we have the ability to do that kind of thing. And then also you can, once it's over with, you'll see another one. You'll see the people who attended, who partially attended, or who did not attend. So you'll see those people listed as well. Okay, so that is what your messaging option does. Now, you do still have the option down here. You do have your action drop down, and I can come in and I can add and remove attendees before the session ever starts. And you're going to notice that I see 556 potential users. That's every single user on my site. Okay, so I could actually come in here and I could add another individual to this, and they would then be able to see it. Now, it is telling me that add edit one problem occurred. So I'm going to guess that that error is due to the fact that Walter is either not enrolled in the course, or it's actually showing that he is booked to attend another session. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to allow the scheduling conflict, because that's actually in December. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to allow that scheduling conflict. Okay, so now Walter is booked for the session as well. Okay, so what I want to do though is I want to show you how you actually take attendance on these and how you can do that in bulk. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trick it and make it think that the session's already taken place. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to edit. We're getting close to our 1:15 mark, but I wasn't quite sure when we were going, how long I was going to yammer on here. So I'm going to kick this back down. I'm going to make it think that the event has already taken place today. Okay, so if you'll notice, that has now moved from the upcoming sessions section, and we'll see that it has now moved into the previous sessions section. And I see that it was held at 12:15 to 1 o'clock. Okay, you wouldn't typically do that, but as far as testing and demonstration purposes are concerned, I'm doing it so that I can at least show you how we can then go in and we can manage our attendees. So if I click on the attendees button, you'll notice that I now have a Take Attendance tab. I don't have a Cancellations tab access, and I don't have Waitlist access. The reason I don't have access to either one of those is because I didn't allow for cancellations in this particular face-to-face. Had I allowed for cancellations, and then if I had had someone actually cancel, then I would be able to use that tab. Waitlisting, kind of the same situation. I didn't enable waitlisting on this particular face-to-face. Had I enabled waitlisting and had I had a full booking, so if I'd have had 16 people book, I would then see that 16th person underneath that waitlist tab. So that's why I can't see those tabs. So if you're kind of going through and testing on it and playing around with it and you can't get to stuff, that's why you're not using that setting. Okay, so let's look at this Take Attendance tab. Okay, so we need to come in here and actually choose people. So you can go down the list and you can choose if they've attended, fully attended, partially attended, or if they're a no-show. Okay, so you can come in here and you can do that on a one-by-one basis. However, a lot of times when you're doing these kind of face-to-face events, especially in different environments, you may have hundreds of people here. And so you may be wanting to kind of go through and do it in bulk. If you're wanting to do that, you do have your bulk actions here. So what you can do is you can come in and you can select all of the people that you know attended or you know that didn't attend. You can come in here and you can do your bulk actions and you can say fully attended. And notice how it's going to go ahead, it's going to switch it, and now I see successfully updated attendance at the top. Okay, so they're going to get full credit for having attended. And then I could set him as a no-show if we wanted to. Okay. You'll also see that you have the all set and not set. Okay, so you can choose that. Set means that the status has been set. Notice how nobody was selected when I switched it to not set. Okay, so I can choose this. I could switch it over. I could switch them to a partial attendance. Okay, so those are things that you can do there. You also have these actions as well where you can export this list in an Excel format, ODS, or CSV. So you have those options as well where you can export this list of people. Let's take a quick peek at our Message Users tab one more time now that we've actually done something with our users. You'll notice that our recipient groups, they have changed. We now see a recipient group of no-show. That was one user. Partially attended, that was two. We have one fully attended user. So we're actually able to come in here and make adjustments and changes, and we can choose who we want to send these messages to. And it's going to show you who the recipients are. So if I selected this and this, it's going to send it to partially and no-shows. So you can send one message to the same group, to two different groups of people if you wanted to. Okay, and it would go to the email address that is on file and is on record with their profile. So that's where they would receive those messages. So let's talk quickly about how we actually add one of these to a course. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave the page. And I'm going to turn editing on. So as an administrator, I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on Add an Activity or Resource. I'm going to choose Face-to-Face. I'm going to add that. Okay. Typically, you're going to name it whatever your event is going to be. So if it is a wellness seminar, new employee seminar, policy seminar, whatever you're doing, you would name that as such. You can provide any kind of details about the meeting, about the seminar, about whatever it is that you're having. You would provide that in the description. This is going to be kind of the broad overarching details. Any of your more detailed information is going to go later when we actually add the bookings. Okay, this is just kind of, face-to-face is one of those activities I also like to refer to as a cookie jar activity, because you have to build your cookie jar and then you have to put your cookies in the jar. This is what we're doing right now. We're building our cookie jar first. Okay, you've got the option to send notifications to third-party email addresses. So if you have another individual that needs to be notified, say you maybe have a proctor that's going to be there that needs to know that people are signing up for things, you can put their email address into this area. You can also notify them about waitlisted sessions. Now, if you use that option, you have to have somebody in here, and you have to check this box, and you have to be using waitlisting. Okay, so if you're not using any of those options, this checkbox may not be relevant. Okay. Sessions displayed on the course page. By default, that kicks up to 6. I typically like to drop it down to 0 because I don't necessarily want all those details displayed on the course page. It takes up a whole lot of room. But you don't have to. If you like to display it like that, you have your option. You can display up to 18 on there if you want to. So totally up to you. I personally prefer not to. You can choose to have approval be required. If you're choosing that, that is going to be manager approval. So that is going to be the direct manager that has to approve them to attend that face-to-face session. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind if you're using that. You also have your self-approval option, so that becomes an option then if you have chosen approval required. You can also then choose in the booking if you're using self-approval. Self-approval basically means that they see these terms and conditions, which you can alter, and then they are able to go in there and say, oh, yep, okay, I agree. I'm confirming that I agree, and check it off, and then they're enrolled. Okay, so self-approval, that is something that you can utilize. It just occurred to me that that's going to solve another client's issue. So thinking through things as we're talking about them. You also have your default booking cancellation settings. Okay, so earlier we saw that my users could not cancel their booking. In this case, we have it set to allow at any time. That's going to be the default. But earlier, the one that I was doing, it was set to never allow. So they weren't allowed to cancel their booking. Once they made their decision, they were stuck with that decision. So that's what that's going to do. If you set it to allow until the cutoff is reached, if you have 1 day before or weeks, hours, minutes, even seconds, you can do that. And basically, they would be allowed to cancel their booking up until that particular cutoff date. That may have also been the setting in the other setting. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe I had used that, and I had used the 1 day cutoff mark, and the sign up was for today. So Gary didn't have the option to back out. Okay, so that's why that was happening. You can choose to allow multiple session signups per user, which would allow them to sign up for multiple sessions within this one face-to-face activity. You also have an enable declare interest option and show declare interest link. Okay, so it's up to you on how you utilize this. However, we have found that typically you only want to use the show declare interest link if all sessions are closed. You only really want to use that declare interest option if the sessions have passed. Because it's a little bit confusing if you're just using the declare interest option, because a lot of times people will see declare interest and they see sign up for booking and they don't know which one's which. Okay, and a lot of times people will declare their interest in the session thinking that they've signed up, and they haven't. Okay, so keep that in mind, that a lot of times what we found, at least so far, this is a newer setting. So far, one of the best practices that we've determined is that you really want to use, if you're going to use it, only use it when your sessions are closed. Then that gives people the ability to say, hey, you know what, I'm interested and I would really like you to offer this session again, but it's not nearly as confusing and people don't accidentally think they've signed up and haven't. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Selecting your position on sign up and prevent sign up if position is selected or can't be found. If you don't have this option or even these declare interest options, recommend go watch that other administrative face-to-face session because I talk about where you turn all of these things on and kind of what each of them do a little bit more detail. But the position on sign-up options, that's going to be tied to positions if you have those set up, and it's a little more involved. So far, we've not seen a huge use case for it, but it is available and it is a new setting that's there. You also have the ability to allow a user sign-up note. So the sign-up note is going to allow people to say something like, I can't wait for the session, or you can even change the sign-up note to say, please indicate a dietary restriction if you have them. Do you have any special accommodations that you need? So you can allow people to actually give you that information. And if you have that sign-up note turned on, you also have the ability to make that sign-up note either a short text or you can have it be a long text. So you have the ability to kind of choose what type of question that you're allowing people to fill in there. Okay, and that's on a per face-to-face basis. You also have the ability to allow managers to make reservations for their learners. Again, this is going to be the direct manager. So if you have this turned on, you can allow them to up to however many reservations you want to make available to them. Okay, so that's going to allow them to save spots basically for their users. Or, well, not save spots. That's an incorrect statement on my part. It's going to allow them to go in and say, I would like this person on my team, this person, and this person. Basically sign them up for something. Okay. There are a few additional configurations that have to be made here at the administrative level in order for this to work. And I believe I talk about them in the other recording. Okay. Here's that calendar option that I was talking about earlier. So we've got it default is set to course. None means it won't show up on a calendar anywhere. Course is going to show up on course calendar. Site, it's going to show up on this site level calendar like we were seeing earlier. And so if you're using that site level calendar, just know that you need to allow those learners to be able to sign up for it typically. So you're going to either have to have self-enrollment turned on the course, or you're going to need to use face-to-face enrollment. One or the other, but you're going to have to allow them access. Okay? Show entry on user's calendar. That's going to show what if they have signed up, it's going to show that they're booked. And then also you have the option to have a short name. So if you have a really long name for the event that you're hosting, and you just want it to show up as the short name for it or an abbreviation, you could put that here. Okay, then you have your common module settings, restrict access. Those are going to be very similar to any other activity. Then you also have your activity completion. You're going to see here, these are the different types. You have partially, fully, student must receive a grade, or student must view the activity to complete it. So typically when you're using face-to-face, you're going to go with either partially or fully attended. Those are going to be the ones that you typically go with. Okay? I like to go with fully attended, but again, it's up to you and your particular criteria. Sorry guys, I know that I'm kind of talking over, but there's a lot to cover here, so if you do have any questions, I promise we will get to those. So adding all sessions, so now what you have to do once you've built your cookie jar, now you have to bake your cookies and put them in the jar. And to make those cookies, that's going to be our sessions. So we would come here and we would say add a new session. If you know how long it's going to be, you can put that here, and that's assuming you don't know the exact date and time that it's going to happen. You just know that it's going to be an hour long. Okay? If you do know the exact date and time that it's going to happen, you can switch this to yes, and then these settings become available to you. If you have user time zone, that means that it's going to show up to them in their time. Okay? But you do have other options. So you could set it to Central Time, and you need to make them aware this is in Central Time. Okay, so keep that in mind. You also have the ability to set the time zones here as well. Notice it's defaulting to my time zone. I'm in Central Time, so it's America, Chicago. But we have our start date. You can either choose it here, or if you're not positive what day of the week that is, you can click the calendar. It's going to show you a little calendar here. Okay, and I'm going to choose the 15th February, and we're going to say it's going to be from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Note that this is a 24-hour clock, guys, so be aware of that. Now, if you have the same session, and it's going to be happening over multiple days, right? So it's going to happen the 15th, it's going to happen the 16th, it's also going to happen the 17th. You can add a new date here. So what that's going to allow them to do is sign up for all of those kind of at the same time, okay? If they are going to be individual sessions, maybe the same session over and over again, but you're going to have 3 of them, you need to add 3 individual sessions. Okay, this trips people up a lot, and so they think, well, I should be able to add all 3 sessions, but then people aren't able to sign up for each of those 3 sessions. So keep that in mind there. You can choose from a predefined room if you have defined them at the system administrative level. Again, I think I talked about that in the other recording, so feel free to review that, or if that's something that you specifically want to see, we can take a look at that administrative setting. But if you've had some predefined rooms, you can come in here and you can choose them. It is going to have a capacity for the number of people that it's going to take, and it's going to default to that later in another area. If you don't have a predefined room, you can check other room and you can fill in all of the same information. Here's the capacity. We have it at 25 because that was set for the predefined room, but if this is actually a session for only 10 people, you can actually knock that capacity down. Even though the room holds 25, you may only want to hold the session for 10. So you can do that. If you allow for overbooking, that is going to allow for waitlisting. Okay, so if you check that box, that means that more than 10 people can sign up. At that point, you have the ability to go back in and you can say, okay, well, I want these 3 people who were over the 10, so we're going to have 13. I'm going to go ahead and allow them in, but I'm going to handpick the other 3. You do have the ability to do that, but you do have to allow for overbooking, and you do have to have more people sign up for it than are needed. If you want to be able to handpick everyone, typically what you might do is you might drop your capacity down pretty low, and then allow for overbooking, and then you can handpick everybody at that point. So basically, you're managing your own waitlisting. Okay, allowing for booking cancellations. Even though we've set that, because I set that inside of our cookie jar settings, so when we were setting up the actual face-to-face, I set our booking cancellations there, but we can alter them on a per session basis now. So it can be a little bit different than all the other sessions if you need it to. You can also send all of your bookings to the wait list, okay? So this is what I was talking about up earlier. So if you do this, what that's going to do, it's going to wait list everybody, and then you can kind of manage and handpick manually yourself who's attending. You can enable a minimum capacity, so that's the minimum number of people that have to sign up for the event in order for it to make. So if I've set it for 10, I may say, you know what, if I don't have 5 people sign up, we're not having the event. Okay? If you do that, you enable minimum capacity, that's what will happen. Basically what will happen is it will send out a notification, and it'll let people know that it didn't make, but it actually won't cancel them. Okay, so keep that in mind, but it will let them know that minimum capacity wasn't reached, because there is actually a notification for that. Okay, you have the user sign up note and self-approval. If you had it turned on inside of the other settings, then you would be able to use it. You'd be able to turn it off or on here. Any additional details about this particular session that you may want to include would go here. Okay, and then once you save those changes, you see your session is appearing here. We did have manager reservations turned on still, so I'm seeing that listed here. But again, there are some special settings that have to be set as far as administratively, and I believe even via roles that have to be tweaked. You have to allow managers the ability to do that. Okay, so if you're using it, great. If not, you can always go back in and you can alter it. Here's where you would add a new session. So if you're going to repeat the same exact session but 3 days later, you would add that new session here. Okay, so guys, that is going to be face-to-face in a nutshell. I'm sorry, I realize I talked 15 minutes over the time I normally do, but hopefully you have a better understanding of the face-to-face sessions and how to set those up. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to unmute you guys and turn the floor over to you for questions.